SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation. SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation.
Tomex Fellam sa විසබීජ අවම කර දින 3ක් දක්වා ටොයිලට් එක ෆ්‍රෙෂ්ව තමයි. Tomex.
Tonight, back and forth. Gas retailers continue to reject CPC composition test report and are told to go for a second opinion if they want. Brass tacks. The central bank governor warns illegal remitters to avoid account freezes by sticking to banking system channels. Watch out. The Sri Lanka Medical Association points out increased COVID cases among kids with obesity issues.
So compared to their similar age kids, those who are obese, they are at a slightly higher risk of getting complications of this disease.
Tit for tat. Government and opposition members trade accusations in Parliament over Colombo Port terminal issues. All this and much more coming up on this Thursday, the 2nd of December 2021.
100ක් දක්වා ඉස්සොරි නැති 100ක් සුසිනිඳු කෙස් කලමක් ලබා දෙයි. Dove Anti-Dandruff.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I am Shanella Fernando in your top stories for tonight. Love's Gas joined Litrogas company today to refute the allegations of changes made to the composition of propane and butane gases used in LP gas cylinders, believed to be the reason for gas incidents. Meanwhile, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation said today that the gas companies can go for third-party studies if they aren't satisfied with their report. The CPC further stated that the Sri Lanka Standard Institution has not specified what the composition of propane and butane must be, but rather the maximum pressure of 1,430 kilopascals.
The number of gas cylinder-related incidents to have taken place within the last 24 hours have been reported at 18. Incidents such as explosions and gas leaks have been reported from various areas in the northern, northwestern, north central, western, central and southern and Uva provinces. Various parties have made allegations claiming that the reason for the explosions was the change of the propane and butane gas compositions by gas companies to increase their profits. However, during a media briefing held on the 24th of November, Director of Health Safety and Environment at Litrogas Lanka Limited denied these claims. Similarly, yesterday Director of Sales and Marketing and Corporate Affairs for Litrogas Lanka Limited, Janaka Patirana, claimed that changing the propane and butane composition cannot lead to explosions. He added that the company adheres to the SLS 702 standard, which sets standard pressure at around 1000 bars for cylinders. With that, Love's Gas today issued a statement refuting the composition changes and attempted to assure the public that these incidents could not have taken place due to such a reason. Through an official communique released today, the company states that many of the incidents happened due to incorrect use of LP gas cylinders, as well as the use of inferior equipment by the public. Meanwhile, with Litrogas having yesterday rejected the findings of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation laboratory report confirming the composition change, CPC officials today stood by their methods and stated that companies are free to get a second opinion if they want.
ඒ තුන්වෙනි පාර්ශවයකින් ටෙස්ට් පරීක්ෂා කර ගැනීම සමාගම් හිතනවා නම් සමාගම් වලට ඕන කියලා සමාගම් කරගත්තට අපේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඕන දෙයක් කරගන්න පුළුවන් ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එකේ කම්පොසිෂන් එකක් නැහැ. මෙච්චර ප්‍රොපේන් මෙච්චර බියුටේන් තියෙන්න ඕන කියලා නැහැ. පීඩනයේ පිළිබඳ පරාසය SLSI එකේ තියෙන්නේ 1430යි කිලෝපැස්කල්.
In the meantime, the company appointed by the president to look into the recent LP gas incidents inspected several houses where the incidents took place today. As such, the committee members along with the police made inspection visits to the houses in Kottava, Othurgiriya and Hanwell areas.
In a bid to address the dwindling workers' remittances, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka announced its latest measures, including the immediate freezing of bank accounts of those who use illegal means to repatriate their earnings. The bank has also announced an incentive of 10 rupees per dollar for inward workers' remittances converted into Sri Lankan rupees. However, the offer will only be valid until the end of December this year. Workers' remittances are a key contributor to Sri Lanka's foreign exchange reserves that exist as a buffer against the widening trade deficit and helps enhance external sector resilience. According to central bank data, on average, workers' remittances have covered around 80% of the annual trade deficit over the past 2 decades. However, workers' remittances have remained strong during the height of the pandemic in Sri Lanka, having recorded healthy inflows throughout 2020, despite a slight dip in the first half of the year. This year, however, despite recording in excess of $500 million monthly from June 2020 to April this year, remittance inflows have declined since then. This has resulted in cumulative remittances dipping below the $500 million level to $4.577 billion, a 9.34% year-on-year decline. According to the central bank, the recent dip was caused by migrant workers turning to informal remittance channels to send money back to their families in Sri Lanka due to significantly higher exchange rates being offered by operators, openly ignoring the central bank's cap of 203 rupees. In recent months, Central Bank Governor Ajit Niwad Cabral has hinted at new measures to curb this trend. Accordingly, taking to Twitter yesterday, the central bank governor revealed that steps are to be taken to freeze bank accounts of anyone found to have used unlawful means to repatriate earnings. With that, Governor Cabral is also urging all Sri Lankan expatriate workers to use legal channels to avoid this. Meanwhile, the central bank has also looked to sweeten the deal by announcing the payment of a 10 rupee incentive per $1 for inward workers' remittances converted into Sri Lankan rupees. An incentive of 8 rupees per $1 will be paid for workers' remittances, in addition to the existing 2 rupee incentive granted under the incentive scheme on inward workers' remittances. The incentive, however, will only be paid if funds are remitted through licensed banks and other internationally accepted formal channels. However, the offer will only be valid for the month of December 2021. During the committee stage debate today, heated debates ensued on the subject of country's ports. Opposition MP Tissa Thanayaka accused the government of engaging in a fire sale of the country's port assets, which he warned would end in the country losing ownership of a vital national port. In response, Ports Minister Rohitha Abegunawardena levelled several allegations against the previous regime for mismanagement of crucial terminals, leading to them being unused for a 5-year period.
මේ වෙනකොට කොළඹ වරායේ තිබෙන අක්කර 13ක ඉඩම CICT සමාගමට පවරා දීමට කැබිනට් පත්‍රිකාවක් කැමැතුමා ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තිබෙනවා. මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිතුමා කාලේ CICT පර්යන්තය ඒ වගේම දැන් අපේ WCT පර්යන්තය මේවා විදේශ සමාගම් නැත්තම් ආයෝජන හැටියට සලකලා බාහිර සමාගම් වලට දීලා තිබෙනවා. අපි කියන්නේ මේ වගේ ගනුදෙනු වලට යන්න එපා. ආයෝජනය කියලා කියන්නේ මේ අපේ තියෙන ඉඩකඩම් විකිණීම, ගොඩනැගිලි විකිණීම, අපේ තියෙන වත්කම් විකිණීම නෙවෙයි. අලුතෙන් මේ රටේ ඇවිල්ලා යමක් පටන් ගන්න පුළුවන් විදියට ආයෝජන ඇතිවීම තමයි අවශ්‍ය. අපි විකුණගෙන සල්ලි ගැනීම ආයෝජනයක් හැටියට සලකන්න එපා කියලා මම විශේෂයෙන්ම ඉල්ලා සිටින කැමතියි. CICT සමාගම ආරම්භ කරනකොට 17ක කොටස් අයිතියකින් ලාභය ගත්තේ. නමුත් දැන් CICT සමාගම 70ක් වරායේ කටයුතු වලින් ලාභ ලබනවා. ඉතින් මේ නිසා අපේ වරාය මං අහන්නේ එතකොට මොකද්ද වරායට ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ? වරායේ සතු ඉඩම් මේ ආකාරයෙන් විකුණා දැමීම හරහා අනාගතේ අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් දකුණු ආසියාවේ නාවික කේන්ද්‍රය බවට ශ්‍රී ලංකාව පරිවර්තනය වෙනවයි කියලා. නෑ. මේ මුළු වරායම අනාගතයේ දවසක චීනට, ඉන්දියාවට, තවත් ආයතනවලට මෙහෙම ගිහිල්ලා ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අපිට අපේම කියලා ජාතික වරායක් නැති වේවි. අපි ඉන්නේ తాවකාලික බාරකරුවෝ. දැක්ක එක മന്ത്രിවරයෙක් කියනවා CICT ජැටිය විකුණලා. විකුණගෙන කාලා. බටහිර ජැටිය විකුණලා. ඊළඟට අක්කර 13ක් විකුණන් කන්න හදනවා. තිස්ස අත්තනායක മന്ത്രിතුමා බොහොම පැහැදිලිව එතුමා හිටියනම් හොඳයි. එතුමා ඇහුවා මේ නැගනීර පර්යන්තයේ සම්බන්ධයෙන්. මම නැගනීර පර්යන්තයේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් උත්තරේ දෙන්න පෙර එතුමාට උත්තරේ ඉස්සෙල්ලා මේක රටට කියන්න වෙනවා. මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිතුමා අපි 2015 ජනවාරි 8 වෙනිදා ජනතාව අපි ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරනවා. අපි අවසන් වෙනකොට මේ නැගනීර පර්යන්තයේ මුළු දිගෙන් මීටර් 440ක් අපි හදලා අවසන් කළා. මුළු පර්යන්තය 1200 320යි දොඹ කරගෙන අල්ල නැහැ. පර්යන්තය හදලා ඉවරයි. පර්යන්තය හදලා අවසන් කළා අපි 2014 අපි දොඹ කර අනුමත කරනවා. අනුමත වෙනවා. ආණ්ඩුව ආපු ගමන් විශේෂ පළවෙනි අමාත්‍යවරයා. පළවෙනි වගකීම වෙන්නේ මොකද්ද? ආපු ගමන්ම අර අපි අනුමත කරලා තියච්ච දොඹ කර ටික නවත්තනවා. දොඹ කර නැවැත්තුවා කියමුකෝ මන්ත්‍රීවරුනි. නැවැත්තුව නම් කරන්න තියෙන්නේ ඉතා ඉක්මනින් ආපහු ප්‍රසම්පාදන ක්‍රියාවලියක් ගිහලා දොඹ කර ටික ඕඩර් කරන එකනේ. එතකොට මුකුත් කරන්නේ නැහැ. අරක නවත්තනවා. අර හදපු පර්යන්තේ හැමම තියෙනවා. මුකුත් කරන්නේ නැහැ. මේ අවුරුදු 5ක් යහපාලන ආණ්ඩුව තිබුණා. අමාත්‍යවරු 3 දෙනෙක් මාරු වුණා. එක අමාත්‍යවරුන්ට කොන්ද කැලින් තිබුණේ නැහැ. හිටපු ජනාධිපතිට, හිටපු අගමැතිට අමාත්‍යවරුන්ට කොන්ද කැලින් තිබුණේ නැහැ. මේ නැගිටින පර්යන්තයට අවශ්‍ය කරන දොඹ කර ටික ගෙනල්ලා මේ පර්යන්තය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරවන්න. මං අහනවා මේ ඉන්න විපක්ෂයේ අයගෙන් එදා නියෝජනය කළ අයගෙන් 2015 ජනවාරි 8 වෙනිදා ඉඳන් 2019 නොවැම්බර් 17 වෙනිදා එළි වෙනකම් වරාය ක්ෂේත්‍රයට කරපු එක දෙයක් කියන්නේ. එක දෙයක් කරා. ජයබහලු පර්යන්තේ විශාල ධාරිතාංගතු 9 දෙකක් එකට මෙහෙයුම් කරන්න අපේ ජැටිය ඉඩමදි. ඒ ජැටියට තව කොටසක් එකතු කරාම අපිට පුළුවන් වෙනවා තව දොඹ කර තුනක් ඒකට දැම්මම 9 දෙකක් මෙහෙයවන්න. මේක කළ යුතු දෙයක්. මොකද්ද කරේ පහුගිය ආණ්ඩුව? ප්‍රසම්පාදන ක්‍රියාවලිය ගියා කැබිනට් අනුමැතිය ගත්තා. එක පැත්තකින් ජැටිය හදන්න අනිත් පැත්තෙන් ක්‍රේන් ටික ගේ. ජැටිය වැඩ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ජැටිය දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ක්‍රේන් ගේනවා. හේතුව මම කියන්නේ. ඒක ඔබ සතුයි. මේ නවත්තනවා. දැන් ක්‍රේන් ටික අනුමත කළා අවශ්‍ය ක්‍රේන් ටික ලංකාවට එනවා. ජැටිය නැහැ. අපි හදමු නගින්දර පර්යන්තයේ තියෙනවා. මේ දොඹ කර ටික බාන්න තැනක් නැහැ. ගෙනල්ලා බානවා නැගිනීර පර්යන්තේ. මම නගින්දර පර්යන්තය කියලා කියන්නේ ඒකට ලෝකේ ලොකු විශාල නෞකාවල් මෙහෙවන්න ඕන. ඒකට ඉතාම ලෝකේ නවීන ඒ වගේම ආම් එක අත දිග වැඩිම මීටර ප්‍රමාණයකින් තියෙන ට්‍රේන්ස් තමයි හරියන්නේ. නමුත් ඒක නෙවෙයි ගේන්නේ අර අතෙන්ට ගෙනාපු එක මෙතෙන්ට බානවා. දැන් අපිට සිද්ධ වෙනවා අර නැව් සමාගම් වලට කියන්න කොටසක් බාලා ඉතුරුට නැව් ටික හරවන්න කියලා. අර පිටකොටුවේ බස් ස්ටෑන්ඩ් එක වගේ දැන් හරියට.
Several top officials of the Board of Investment, the State Investment Promotion Agency, have announced surprise resignations, including those of several board members and senior officials. Board members Harsha Kabral PC, Sanjay Kulatunga and Harsha Subasinghe, as well as Chairman Sanjay Mohotala and Director General Pasan Vanigasekara, have tendered their resignations. According to a communique issued today, one of the reasons given is that attempts by the board to bring about urgent transformation have been resisted by internal and external factions, hampering the board's plans to fulfill the president's investment goals. This, they add, has also resulted in affecting the reputations of key personnel and the board as well. More news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
Big 3.
Welcome back. In more news, the Engineers Union of the Ceylon Electricity Board has decided to withdraw from addressing power outages that take place outside their working hours. Accordingly, the engineers of the Ceylon Electricity Board will not attend to any emergency power restorations after 4:15 p.m. A group of engineers of the Ceylon Electricity Board arrived at the Ceylon Electricity Board yesterday to meet with its chairman and discuss about several demands, including the withdrawal of the Yugadanavi power plant deal. Trade unions of the Ceylon Electricity Board continuously expressed their opposition over the selling of a 40% stake in the Yugadanavi power plant in Keravalapitia to US-based company New Fortress Energy, and thereby granting them the exclusive rights for LNG supply in the country. However, to their disappointment, the chairman was not present at the time, following which they held discussions with the deputy chairman as well as the general manager. Responding to media on their way out, the Engineers Union stated that their work to rule trade union action will be intensified, and as part of it, they will not attend to any emergency power restorations after 4:15 p.m., which is outside their working hours. The union added that the government should be held responsible for any inconvenience experienced by the members of the public due to their work to rule trade union action. Also expressing objections over the removal of 2 additional general managers from their posts, they claimed that the removals were because of their opposition to straying outside the rules. The union also called for presidential intervention to remove corrupt politicians from holding important positions and replace them with officials who abide by the law. They insisted that the trade union action will continue until their demands are met. MARUBENI Corporation's executive management team for Asia visited Sri Lanka to negotiate an investment opportunity for the 200-megawatt Mana wind power project last week. During the visit, the team met with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and the Minister of Finance, Basil Rajapaksa. The MARUBENI Corporation, with revenues of $67 billion and a history spanning 160 years, specializes in renewable energy, textiles and agricultural-related businesses. The MARUBENI Corporation is exploring other possibilities of investing in floating solar projects in Sri Lanka and have been requested to set up a comprehensive textile manufacturing facility as well. They have also been requested to explore the possibility of introducing three-wheeler electric vehicles as well as setting up an electric vehicle charging network in Sri Lanka. And if this materializes, it will exceed an investment of $1 billion. The Sri Lanka Medical Association said today that there is a marked increase in the number of children infected with COVID-19, but added that this isn't a problem due to their age. However, the association said that obese children and children with metabolic syndromes have a higher risk of infection and could suffer severe complications.
The Omicron variant has been identified in 31 countries and regions across the world. Joining the list of countries to report the highly mutated variant are the United States and India. US health officials, however, say that patients confirmed with the variant are doing well and said that they have no further signs of transmission of the new variant yet. Meanwhile, in India, 2 men in the southern Indian state of Karnataka have been identified with the new variant. In the meantime, Sri Lanka Medical Association believes that it is only a matter of time until the Omicron variant enters Sri Lanka. However, they urge the government and the Ministry of Health to take measures to delay the entry of the variant to the country as much as possible. This is due to the repercussions of the variant's potential to spread among the population, especially among the vulnerable, as this could cause heavy pressure on the healthcare system.
The Ministry of Health and the healthcare system should see that we do not get this infection, and we should take all steps to postpone arrival of this infection to Sri Lanka as much as possible. And also we should strengthen our healthcare system to accommodate if in case another crisis occurs. And as for people, there are 2 important points that we need to highlight. One is to adhere to the basic health principles that we have been advocating throughout. If it causes serious consequences, it would be mainly the elders who will suffer. So the elders have to take all precautions. The children who would bring the infection home and then would spread the disease to elders, and it's the elders who would suffer the consequences.
Meanwhile, speaking at a media briefing organized by the Presidential Media Division today, one of Sri Lanka's leading immunologists gave an update on the gene sequencing tests conducted in Sri Lanka. In the meantime, the Sri Lanka Medical Association says that a slight increase in the number of daily COVID cases have been reported in the country. Overall, 744 cases were confirmed across the country yesterday. The SLMA says that among the rise in cases are a marked increase in the number of children infected with the virus as well.
In terms of children, now they are back to school and the infection rates seems to be going up among the children, but that's not a concern because of the age. But increasingly we see that in the younger population also, with the increasing obesity among children, that we see even type 2 diabetes. So compared to their similar age kids, those who are obese and those who have marginally raised blood sugars or deranged metabolic syndrome, they are at a slightly higher risk of getting complications of this disease. So they have to be careful. Please follow a healthy lifestyle in the form of a diet and exercise. And those who have high blood sugars and other problems, they should control their condition well.
The Ministry of Health made a startling revelation today with regard to the number of deaths among unvaccinated people, placing the figure at over 50%. As such, they urged all people of the country to get the 2-vaccine regime and especially urged the over 60s population to do so, as over 70% of deaths in the country during the last wave were in this group.
Sri Lanka received its largest consignment of Pfizer vaccines today. The State Minister of Regulation, Production and Supply of Pharmaceuticals, Professor Channa Jayasumana, said that the consignment contained 1,503,450 Pfizer doses. The Pfizer vaccines will be used as a booster dose for people over the age of 60 and people over the age of 20 with comorbidities. Speaking at a media briefing today, health officials revealed the sum of money spent on vaccine and medicine purchases.
මේ දක්වා අපි රුපියල් බිලියන 66.39ක් වියදම් කරලා තියෙනවා මේ වැක්සින් වලට. ඒ බූස්ට් එකකටත් අපි වැක්සින් ඕඩර් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ සම්පූර්ණ වියදමයි මම ඔය කිව්වේ. ඊට අමතරව උපකරණ වලට විතර අපි වියදම් කරලා තියෙනවා බිලියන 6ක් පමණ. ඊළඟට රසායනාගාර වැඩවලට බිලියන 12.8ක් වියදම් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ බෙහෙත් හේත් සඳහා බිලියන 15.7ක් වියදම් කරලා තියෙනවා. සම්පූර්ණ මුදල එකතු කරාම අනිකුත් සුළු මුදලුත් එක්ක බිලියන 113ක් මේ දක්වා අපි වියදම් කරලා තියෙනවා. අපි මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ මේ ඔක්කොම අපේ රටේ බදු ගෙවන ජනතාවගේ මුදල්. ඒක නිසා තමයි මම කියන්නේ අපි හැමෝගෙම වගකීමක් මේක වියදම අඩු කරන්න රෝගීන් ප්‍රමාණය අඩු කරගන්න ඕනේ.
Further, the Minister of Health pointed out to the need of people getting vaccinated, as more than 50% of deaths in the country have taken place among unvaccinated people.
මේ රටේ ජනගහනයෙන් අතිවිශාල සංඛ්‍යාවකට එන්නත් ලබා දෙන තත්ත්වයේ යටතේ පවා 69%ක්ම මේ මරණ වලින් වාර්තා වෙන්නේ එහෙම නැත්නම් 9908ක්ම වාර්තා වෙලා තියෙන්නේ බෙහෙත් එන්නත් ලබා නොගත් අයගෙන් තමයි මේ මරණ සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. එන්නත ලබාගෙනත් මරණයටපත් වෙන අයගේ සංඛ්‍යාවේ 30%ක් පමණ තමයි එන්නත් ලබාගත් අයගේ මිය ගොස් තිබෙන්නේ. සමස්තයක් හැටියට ගත්තාම මුළු රටේ ජනගහනයෙන් 62.7%කට පූර්ණ එන්නත් ආවරණය ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා. 72.7%කට එක එන්නතක් හෝ ලබාගෙන තියෙනවා.
Last wave, about 54% of the people who perished due to the COVID-19 were diabetics. And if you take the people who died in the age group above 60, more than 74% of them were diabetics and those who had other comorbidities. So we can see the importance of the above 60 population being 100% vaccinated and with a booster dose for us to meet this challenge in the coming month and the new year.
The Colombo High Court today acquitted and released former governor of the Western Province Asad Saleh from the months-long case filed by the Attorney General over remarks he made allegedly inciting religious disharmony. Delivering the verdict, Colombo High Court Judge Amal Ranaraja said that the prosecution has failed to prove charges against the accused beyond a reasonable doubt. The Attorney General filed indictments against former governor of the Western Province Asad Saleh for remarks made during a press conference in March this year for allegedly inciting religious hatred. The indictments were filed under the Prevention of Terrorism Act and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Delivering the verdict when the case was taken up before the Colombo High Court today, Justice Amal Ranaraja said that the prosecution had failed to prove that the accused had made remarks that would fan the flames of religious disharmony or incite violence among the people of the country. Due to the plaintiff's failure to prove charges against the accused beyond a reasonable doubt, Justice Ranaraja ordered the release of former Governor Asad Saleh, acquitting him from the case. Appearing on behalf of the former governor, President's Counsel Maitri Gunaratna requested the court to order the prosecution to pay compensation to his client due to the malicious nature of the complaint lodged. Considering his request, Justice Ranaraja issued notices to the original complainants, parliamentarians Mohammad Muzammil, Nimal Piyatissa and Gamini Jayananda, to appear before the court on the 21st of February 2022. Welcome back in business news. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka, on behalf of the Government of Sri Lanka, has requested proposals from international investor community on the 12th November 2021 for the arrangement of a medium-term foreign currency financing facility. This is for the securitizing of the foreign currency receipts of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the mandatory sale of 10% of workers' remittances converted into Sri Lankan rupees by licensed banks. The deadline for the submitting responses was the 30th of November 2021. Accordingly, there were 7 responses, among which there were 5 leading international banks and 2 established investment arrangers, the central bank announced. The bank is now reviewing the responses to determine the most suited modality to initiate the securitized financing arrangement. The All Share Price Index today dipped by 1.38% or 157.58 points to end at 11,252.30 points. In contrast, however, the S&P SL 20 rose by 0.27% or 10.68 points to close at 3,916.33. With that, here's Dimantha Matthew with today's detailed stock report.
In the first half of the day, there was a strong buying interest that emerged in the market, and the index accelerated upwards during the day, and that helped the overall sentiment to be mostly positive. So we saw a lot of retail activity during the day. Retail favorite counters were the ones that were heavily active, and we saw a lot of positivity in those counters, where there are certain selected counters were on a continuous uptrend. However, towards the second half of the day, until about the last hour of trading, we saw a bit of a slowdown in the market and a sort of a downtrend that happened. And then when we moved towards the last hour of trading, at first we saw the index stagnating at yesterday's close levels for a while. Then afterwards we saw some significant amount of selling pressure coming into the market.
The Sri Lankan rupee continues its run at 202 rupees and 99 cents against the US dollar today as well. With that, let's now take a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando. Have a good night.